Hello, everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. And as promised, we are continuing on with the Brawler build guide. We are putting together our taproom beatdown artist, and as promised, we will be going through the Brawler's class abilities. Uh, Honestly, they're not too dissimilar from the monk. There's enough differences there that they are absolutely distinct classes with some unique features to both of them. But you're going to be filling a very similar role to the monk if you pick out the brawler class. But we can get into that right now. Starting us off, the brawler is proficient with all simple weapons. In addition to that, they get the hand axe, the short sword, and weapons from the fighter's close weapon group. They also get light armor and shield proficiency, which is really, really handy. You're going to want to boost your armor class as much as possible. Um, Also, from there, and this one is incredibly useful, you get Brawler's Cunning, which allows you to auto qualify for feats that require a 13 intelligence score. So you just functionally work that way. So for some of these combat feats that can be very useful and build into other chains of other combat oriented feats, this is a great ability to have because this is also what lets us have a second dump stat. We don't have to worry about boosting our intelligence to get access to all these different things. In fact, as I recommended earlier in the guide, you can lower your intelligence without really affecting your ability to perform all that much. And this next ability here, this is one that's going to require its own video, or at least I feel like it does, because it's one that certainly I need to read a couple of times to make sense of, and I think going over it and emphasizing it and displaying some of the strategies that can be made use of with it is important. But that's martial flexibility. You make a move action in order to gain a combat feat that you don't already possess. The effect lasts for 1 minute, and you have to meet all the feat's prerequisites, and it's usable 3 plus 1/2 your brawler level per day. So, and that'll be a minimum of one. So, at level 1, you get to use this 4 times per day. And continuing on from there, the next line that we get for an ability, along with all the other things we receive at first level, is martial training. Now, martial training's okay. It's not a bad freebie by any stretch of the means. It's not even an okay freebie. It's a good one. Your brawler levels will count as fighter and monk levels for the purposes of qualifying for different feats and any magic item related effects. For example, weapon specialization, which is a fighter specific feat, you can count your brawler levels towards that. Or if you're using the monk's robe and the bonuses it provides towards the stunning fist feat, you get the benefits of that as well. Your martial or your brawler levels through martial training will allow your levels to count for monk. So, not bad at all by any stretch. But the real bread and butter for this class, just like with the monk, is the unarmed strike ability. You make unarmed strikes and deal increasing damage as you level up. This will be your mainstay means of damage, especially at higher levels when your unarmed damage will outpace whatever weapon damage you're able to deal with whatever you're proficient with. And then, of course, to help with this, you get bonus combat feats at second level, and then every 3 levels thereafter, you select a bonus combat feat. And it has to be something that affects your defense or melee attacks. So, and somehow combat related. It's vague on what that means exactly, but as long as it's applied in some way, like the dodge feat, which helps improve your armor class against a particular target, or picking power attack or cleave. Those are melee attacks, those boost, those bonuses there. So those are all applicable under this. But something like, let's say, improve combat casting, that's not going to really apply to you because it's not improving your defense and it's not improving your melee attacks, and you're not casting anything either. You're not a caster build. That's not at all what we're going for. Also, going along with your unarmed strike ability, you get Brawler's Flurry, which works pretty much like the monk's Flurry of Blows ability. You use two weapon fighting when making unarmed, close, or monk weapon attacks. And you used the improved two weapon fighting version at 8th level, and then greater two weapon fighting at 15th. So the number of attacks that you'll be throwing out will increase at 2nd level and keep rising as you go along. Really, really great to have. It bumps up that damage output and that damage potential so greatly. But this is not all that the Brawler has in store, of course. No, not at all. Coming in at 3rd level, you get maneuver training. Now, when you get this, you get to select one maneuver that you will get a +1 combat maneuver defense against. Every 4 levels thereafter, so at 7th level, for example, and then 11th, you will select another maneuver, with each prior selection increasing by +1 each time. So by 7th level, say you get a combat maneuver defense bonus against trip. So that's a +1 there. Next level, you decide you want to defend against bull rushing attacks. Bull rushing, you will now get a +1 bonus against. And then the previous selection, trip, you now get a +2 bonus. So this will increase over time, and that's pretty good to have. The bonuses do build up slowly over time, but at the end of the day, though, having this as a nice freebie bonus coming in here as a class ability, increasing, decently enough and giving you defenses against a wide range of things that might be thrown against you, really, really good to have. Not as great as some of the other abilities, but not bad. And something that definitely works well in your favor against the broadest possible number of attacks is the AC bonus. And at 4th level, this kicks in. You gain a +1 dodge bonus to your armor class and combat maneuver defense when in light or no armor. This will increase by 1 at 19th level, 13th, and then 18th levels. So this will stack with the maneuver training as well. And since this also applies to your combat maneuver defense. So the fact that these two stack together, really, really, really good. And then, of course, this is a dodge bonus to your armor class. So this will stack with, your armor, your dexterity, any miscellaneous bonuses you might have, any force effects, like say you have a ring of armor class, +2, this will all start to mesh together and really help to boost your armor class, which you really, really, really need as a frontline fighter. But something to boost more of your offensive capabilities, you have Brawler's Strike, which comes in at a nice early level of 5th level. Your unarmed attacks are treated as magic weapons in order to overcome damage reduction. Then by 9th level, they begin to count as cold iron or silvered weapons. Then 12th, you get to pick one of these particular alignment aspects, and that's chaos, law, good, and evil, for overcoming those damage reductions. Then by 17th level, your unarmed attacks are also treated as adamantium. Really, really good to have, and really begins to help overcome the limitations your unarmed strikes will have. As early on, especially, from 5th to 9th level, you are going to be relying on your armaments, your whatever weapons you can carry, for helping you to overcome damage reduction. You're going to want silver daggers. You're going to want cold iron kama, or some other kind of close combat weapon like that, or simple weapon to help overcome those damage reductions. But we'll get more into the equipment stuff another time. Because as you know by now, we're not done yet. The next ability that we get here is Close Weapon Mastery. So basically this applies to all of your close weapons. The Brawler uses their unarmed strike damage, but it's the unarmed strike damage from 4 levels lower of where they're at right now, instead of the base damage for that weapon. So say your base damage is, say you're doing the 1d8 and you go 4 levels lower, that's 1d6 that you're dealing out right there. If the weapon already does 1d6 points of damage, it's unaffected. But if you're, say, using a dagger, which deals 1d4, Your dagger will now get to deal 1d6 points of damage, so its damage is boosted, making your close weapons and various weapons of that sort much more effective for a longer time. They're much more viable over a longer course of time because they're dealing that increased amount of damage. At a certain point, especially as your different unarmed strikes begin gaining different properties, that's going to be less applicable over time. The weapons won't stay as viable, except for maybe weapons that are aligned on different alignment axes from the ones that you select for your unarmed strikes. But, that's situational and something that you can plan out for ahead of time. But this, especially early on for, first through, say, about 10th, 12th level-ish, this will help to keep your weapons much more viable and able to compete with your unarmed weapon damage for a good long time. But this kind of helps, this next ability really helps cement your unarmed strikes as really the way to go. And that's Awesome Blow. 16th level, you take a standard action to make a combat maneuver check against a corporeal target that's equal to the brawler's size. So if you're a medium-sized brawler, this will only work on a medium-sized target. On a success, the target takes damage and is moved 10 feet in a direction of the brawler's choice and will be knocked prone. Hitting an obstacle over the course of that 10 feet will deal 1d6 points of damage to the target and the obstacle, and the target will fall prone adjacent to the obstacle. So nice little bit of bonus damage there. This is a really cool ability. It fits this raw, unbridled power motif that the brawler has going for them. It just really fits that flavor. I love it. This is a really cool ability, and it's useful because this is one this isn't dependent on anything like reflex saves, fortitude saves. This doesn't have any of that in there. The only thing that's really going to affect it is damage reduction, but that's just going to reduce the damage. You're still shifting and moving the target, and you're knocking the target prone. So that's just really cool. It is held back a little bit by the target needing to be corporeal, but there's going to be some ways around that eventually. And also, I don't know, just that battlefield control, although it's limited to one single target, you still have that little bit of battlefield control there and can knock the target prone, which makes them vulnerable to a lot of other things and typically will deny their dexterity bonus to a lot of different things that they might need that for. So, good way for you to keep handy and provide detriments to the opponent in combat for your allies to take advantage of. And then, of course, we have the pièce de résistance. We have the Brawler's Capstone ability, which is Improved Awesome Blow. At 20th level, this improves your Awesome Blow to making just a regular attack instead of a move action to make that combat maneuver check against a corporeal target of any size. And on a critical hit, you roll another maneuver check to confirm the crit. And if you do, you get double damage on the successful roll. And if that target hits an obstacle in the way on that critical, that extra 1d6 of damage is doubled as well. It's just really cool, really great way to cap this off. It is an improvement of a previous ability, but you know what? You can now use your Awesome Blow against a target of any size. You want to launch that ogre? Fantastic. You'll probably just kill that ogre in a regular string of attacks, but it's a large creature, so you can send it flying, and it's just to make an attack, meaning that this can be used with your two-weapon fighting. This can be just used as part of a string of attacks. So that makes this really, really useful, and it meshes in with everything else that the Brawler has going on. But there's one last thing to mention here, and you probably saw this already, and that's the little red thing that we have listed here, Perfect Warrior. This is something that you can select. It's an optional thing. This replaces the Martial Flexibility 20th level improvement. What this does is instead of improving the martial flexibility ability, should probably work out the sentence structure there a little bit more. Instead of improving the martial flexibility power that you get at 20th level, this instead swaps that out for a +2 bonus to your armor class and to your maneuver training. This really kills your capabilities. Sure, it's 20th level. Very few campaigns reach this point unless they're starting near this point. And even then, well, pass on it. This is a terrible choice. You want that martial flexibility. You want that 20th level improvement. It does so much for you, and if you're playing an epic level campaign, you want the benefits that that martial flexibility provides. The ability to select any number of combat feats that you meet the requirements for is huge, even at 20th level, because that does so much to change up your game plan, your strategy. It makes you adaptable. I mean, you want that. This dodge bonuses are nice, but it's only a +2 at 20th level. This is a stupid option. I don't know why this exists. I mean, even from a role, I love to do role play over just straight going through numbers and everything, but even as somebody that prefers role play over mechanics, over just building up big numbers, over power gaming, I don't like most of that. This is still a bad option, even from a role play perspective. This just does not let you perform all that effectively, so skip this one. But on that note, I hope you've enjoyed today's content, and if you did, go down and click like and let me know in the comments down below. And also, there's going to be more content popping up over here somewhere. Both of these videos, one is the most recent thing done, the other is something that YouTube thinks that you will enjoy. So go on, click those, and if you've been liking the content here so far, go ahead and head on down and click the subscribe button. Certainly, the rest of us will be happy to have more members, more alumni here at the Gamers Den. But with that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. Thank you all so much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night and stay safe out there.